This video is sponsored by Hexcal.
So, this is my 2023 desk setup tour. This is where I make all the videos that you see on this channel, where I study for my computer science degree, and play a bit of games. The space has evolved a lot in the past year, but I honestly didn't think I'd be making this video. When I showcased my setup in last September, I thought I'd really done everything I could with the room I have. With the Hexcal Studio being the latest addition to the setup, it gives off an entirely new vibe and was a product I did not know I needed. That said, I hope this video can provide some inspiration to those of you wanting to build a comfortable work from home setup. For the desk itself, I'm using the E7 Pro Plus standing desk from FlexiSpot. This allows for a ton of versatility as I can very quickly go from sitting to standing up to create a completely different work environment. The LCD screen is super easy to use. You can manually adjust the height using the 2 arrows, but you can also program any of the 4 presets at the right to a specific height of your liking. I'm a pretty tall guy at 6'1" and find the height of the desk to be very comfortable. These days I do honestly tend to sit down the majority of the time, but I find it to be very convenient when I'm filming that I can raise the desk up to get a better framing on the products on it. The white legs are super clean and built well. There's only a little bit of instability when adjusting the height, and given that my monitors are mounted to the tabletop, a little bit of shakiness is to be expected. At the right of the desk, matching with the legs, is an IKEA Alex drawer. I moved my PC from atop my desk onto here, which was something I should have done a long time ago. There's now so much more room on the table, and my monitors look better now that they're actually centered. I'm still using the chipboard white wood grain tabletop that came with the desk, and so far I've had no issues. While it isn't real solid wood, the monitors are supported well, being clamped to it, and there's been no sag. Underneath the desk for cable management, I have an IKEA Signum tray. It's nothing fancy, but it works well to just throw cables into and keep them from hanging down. On the back side of the desk, I have a Meros light strip, which gives a badass blue accent to the desk. You can connect it to Apple HomeKit to power it on or change the color there, but the Meros app allows for much more customizability. As I sit in my chair nearly 90% of the time with the setup, this is one of the most important products for me. For a while, I was using the autonomous Ergo Chair 2, which was honestly just a piece of garbage I could never get comfortable in. Luckily, I upgraded to the Work Sans chair from Sona. I hadn't heard of them before they reached out to me, but I was already in the market for a new one, so thought, why the hell not? Having been using it for almost a month, it is pretty damn comfortable, and I can sit here for hours on end without any discomfort. The black and silver design fits really nicely within the space and looks super sleek. It's made of leather with inner foam padding, so it feels really high quality. The high back gives me, as a tall person, a great amount of support, and I can comfortably lean back. With the lever at the right, you can adjust the height of the chair, and then if you pull out the lever at the left, you can unlock the chair so you're able to lean back. Aside from that though, there's no other adjustments you can make, but that's been no issue for me. My only real complaint I have with it is that the metal armrests aren't very comfortable and are thin, so actually trying to keep your arms on here is a challenge. Hands down, the most asked about product in this entire setup is the Amazon Echo Spot sitting right there. I use it as an alarm clock, but it's also so nice to glance over at the time while working and ask Alexa what the weather is before heading out. The circular design, in my opinion, is super clean and definitely stands out on the desk. For whatever reason, it was discontinued a couple years back, which I'm still mad about because this is one of the simplest but most practical products that you can have in your space. The Hexcal Studio is definitely the biggest upgrade to the setup. When they had originally reached out to send this to me, I wasn't super sure what the purpose of it was or if I'd even like it. But once I had it in my space, I could immediately see the value. It takes up quite a bit of room, measuring about 47 inches in length and 9 inches in width, but this was worth it for me because it forced me to move the PC build to a better spot and instantly upgraded the vibe of the space. The sleek gray design matches extremely well with the entire setup, with the dual Ultrawides at the center and the light underglow. Working here has actually become more practical. Alongside a monitor light bar, it ensures the entirety of your desktop is lit up, which for those late night work sessions, it comes in so clutch. The brightness can easily be changed with the intensity buttons, and there's also temperature adjustments so you can get the exact mood you're looking for. I tend to stick with a cooler temperature, but warm looks pretty sweet too. What I love most about it though is how it offers such a sleek way to organize all the cables within the setup. The top compartment opens up, which allows for a bunch of space where you can store cables and even keep power bricks. On the back side, there are 8 outlets, which is super convenient. This makes it work as an integrated cable managed power strip. There's 12 different cord channels to help route the cables, and once the compartment is put back on, everything is hidden away. On the left side are 3 USB-A and 1 USB-C ports, able to provide up to 27 watts of power. This is super nice to fast charge both my phone and iPad. While I have my speakers placed on top at the sides, if this area is left uncovered, both can be used to wirelessly charge your phone.
The entire system can safely support up to 1,000 pounds of weight, more than enough for you to place monitors if you aren't using a mount, which also could be a nice way to raise the height of them.
If you guys are interested in checking the Hexcal Studio out, head down to the link in the description. So I'm rocking two 34-inch ultrawides from LG. The bottom is the UltraGear 34GP95A-B. This has been the dream monitor having the setup, as I love the ultrawide resolution and it has a 160Hz refresh rate. This is fantastic for gaming with the RTX 4080, as it's easily able to push those frames, but unfortunately I did have to send the card back to Gigabyte for replacement as the cable melted on me. Colors are quite accurate, which is great for video and photo work, and it always produces quite a consistent image across devices. On top of this monitor is the BenQ Screen Bar Halo, which has a wireless controller that you can use to turn it on or off, adjust the brightness, color temperature, and pick whether you want the front and or backlight enabled. While I do love the idea of this controller, it's just really annoying to use. It slides around whenever you try to turn it, and you have to wave your finger over the sensor before it responds to your touch. Aside from that though, it works functionally flawless. The light bar plugs into the back of the monitor and lights up almost the entirety of the desk, which for my night owls is a huge plus. On the back of the monitor, I have this Govee light strip that makes for a really cool lighting effect. My only complaint about it is that the adhesive never seems to stand properly, and the cable that goes with it sometimes will fall and just get in the way. The top monitor is the LG 34WK95C-W, which was discontinued, but I'll link to a similar model in the description. It's almost identical to the UltraGear. It has that same borderless design other than the lack of the LG logo and the same 3440 by 1440p resolution. However, it does have a lower 75Hz refresh rate. The main reason I bought this one is that at the time, my setup was much more minimal. It was basically just that single monitor and my old MacBook, and so having one cable to provide both an external display and power was a huge deal. The colors though aren't as good as the UltraGear. They look a bit more washed out, but it's not a big deal, as these days I only use it for things like Spotify and my shot list when editing. To mount the monitors, I'm using two different arms from Vivo. I decided going this route against buying a single pole so that it would better distribute the weight, but also I prefer the floating design that you get when having the poles on the side as opposed to in the middle. The UltraGear is on a single monitor mount with a 21-inch pole, though this measurement is including the height of the clamp, so it's actually about 17 inches off the desk. The top monitor is on a 39-inch extra tall pole, which actually measures in at about 35 inches from the desk. Using an Allen wrench, you can very easily adjust how high the monitors sit as well as the tilt. Just using your hands, you can pull the monitors out or rotate them, which when managing and plugging in cables is actually really nice just to have more room to get in there. These two mounts create the stacked ultrawide setup, which I've come to really enjoy. I get most of you are probably thinking I must get neck pain from this, but other than short periods of time where I'm putting a song on or just taking a quick glance, I don't really look up there. I throw things up there that don't need my constant attention so that I can better focus on the work at hand. It's really nice to be able to take advantage of all this horizontal real estate while video editing or doing some web development. My 16-inch M1 Pro MacBook runs the setup whenever I'm not gaming, and so I needed a solution to connect both of the monitors as well as the various peripherals I use. The Razer Thunderbolt 4 dock has been able to do just that. It is super pricey at over $300, but it's worked flawlessly for my use case. The dock itself is super sleek with its silver design matching perfectly with the Mac. At the front is the upstream host Thunderbolt port where you'll plug your Mac or any USB-C laptop into. Aesthetically, the cable at the front doesn't look great, but if I'm ever using the MacBook with its lid open opposed to using it in clamshell mode, this does make it a little easier. Additionally, at the front is a 3.5mm audio jack and SD card slot. The MacBook has had both now since the M1 Pro came out, but what I will say is it's nice to keep the SD card plugged into the dock so that when I leave for school, I don't have it still in the laptop. At the back, you get 3 downstream Thunderbolt 4 ports, 3 USB-A ports, and Ethernet. For the price, I honestly wish there would have been a couple more Thunderbolt ports, or at the very least, just give us one more USB-A in this empty spot. For both monitors, I'm using a USB-C to DisplayPort cable from Uni Accessories to connect the display, but also run each at their highest refresh rate. The UltraGear is running at 160Hz, while the other one is at 75Hz. The two cables are 6 foot and 10 foot, which gives me enough room for both cables to reach the monitors and be able to be neatly managed. The only issues I've experienced with the dock thus far is it gets extremely hot within minutes of using it, and my displays will sometimes not turn on until I open the lid of my Mac. The price is really steep, but there isn't a ton of options for Thunderbolt 4 docks out there right now. So I've had the M1 Pro MacBook in the setup for nearly 60 months at this point, and it's really been one of the best investments for my workflow. I do use it in clamshell mode nearly 90% of the time connected to the Razer dock, but obviously when I go to school or just feel like working away from the setup, the screen real estate is super nice to have. There is a trade-off for portability, as using this in the car or in other tight spaces is very difficult, but doing some web development on the couch or in bed is great, as I have plenty of room to have Chrome and VS Code open. The 120Hz screen is gorgeous, and the colors and pixel density make it so nice to look at. As per performance, video and photo editing, which is the bulk of my work, is really smooth on here. It almost never stutters, but I do tend to have a lot of apps open at once, so the 16GB of RAM can feel limiting at times. Also, the 1TB SSD fills up quickly if I store many of my videos internally, so I do have an external 1TB drive from OWC that I use whenever editing. It's luckily really quick though, and like the SD card, can be kept in the setup with the dock whenever I leave. That's honestly what I love about my space, is that when docked, my MacBook can connect to both of my monitors, all of my peripherals, but as soon as I want to leave, I can keep it how it is and just unplug one single cable. Speaking of peripherals, for my keyboard, I'm currently using the Newfie Halo 96. If you've been subscribed to the channel, you might have seen the other two Halo boards from Newfie, the 60 and 75 that I've covered. This is the full-size version of those two, and while I normally do not like full-size boards, this one is actually really nice. The black design with the white and black keycaps is super sleek, and the overall build quality is really good. It's constructed of ABS plastic with an aluminum front plate, which gives it a little bit of heft, but not on the same level as something like the Keychron Q1, which is fully aluminum. My configuration is fitted with Newfie's Nightbreeze linear switches, which, despite some quality control issues with some of them being more mushy than others, they've been my favorite switch that I've tried so far. Paired with the PBT keycaps, it makes a great sound profile. The board can be connected wirelessly over Bluetooth or the USB dongle, but I always use it wired with a high-star coiled cable. For my mouse, I'm using the MX Master 3S, which I think still remains one of the best productivity mice available. The gray color goes along very well with the desk, and the ergonomic design makes it super comfortable to hold. My favorite feature is the side scroll wheel, which I use mostly for panning out my DaVinci Resolve timeline. There's also two side buttons and a gesture button under your thumb that can all be configured with Logi Options Plus. I will occasionally pair the Apple Magic Trackpad with this, but I've been using it less recently, as you can't pinch to zoom with Resolve. It comes in handy in programs like Photoshop or Lightroom though, so you can quickly zoom in on a picture and move around. Always underneath the mouse is the Delta Hub Carpio 2.0, and basically all it does is just raise your wrist up so that it prevents any strain from working long hours. It takes some time to get used to, but I definitely think it's something worth having in the setup. When I game, I obviously have to switch up the mouse, and right now I've been using the Razer Viper V2 Pro. I've tried a bunch of different mice on the channel, but this is one that I just keep going back to. The design is really sleek, I love the shape, but most importantly, the texture, just the grippy feeling it has, makes it really comfortable to use in game. The Razer optical switches are another reason I keep sticking with it. They just sound and feel so crispy. On the Alex drawer next to my desk, I do have my custom PC rig. The case is the Lianli O11 Dynamic Mini Snow White, which can fit an ATX motherboard, but still remains super compact. It only takes an SFX power supply, so do keep that in mind if you're planning on a case swap. I needed an 800 watt power supply for my GPU, and this Cooler Master one was one of the only SFX power supplies I could even find with that high wattage. Not that you're ever looking at it, but if you also have a white case, this will match well. With the white fans inside, it looks so damn clean, it makes a great addition to the space. My CPU is the i7-9700K, which is just about due for an upgrade. It works great for gaming, but in any productivity application, it's still a bit slow. To cool it, I have the NZXT Kraken X62 liquid cooler, which has been going strong the past 3 years, and it looks really nice inside. For RAM, I have 2 sticks of G-Skills Trident C Royal because they just look so sick. My GPU was an RTX 4080, but I had to send it back for repair/replacement because the cable melted on me while I was finishing up my review on it. How convenient. I'm hoping I can get that back soon because despite how overpriced it is, it was able to run literally every game I threw at it in Ultrawide with max settings, no problem. I was actually able to play a lot of games at around 120 FPS, which is the dream. I also have two M.2 SSDs in here, which make booting into Windows and games super quick. If you're planning on building a PC for the first time, the Intel 660p is a crazy good value. It's still what I use as my boot drive, and you're going to get much better performance than using a SATA SSD or, God forbid, a hard drive. At the back of the PC, I have plugged in a Uni-Accessories USB hub, which typically you're going to see these used with Macs, but I found it to work really nicely to extend the available USB-A ports I had on my PC. When I was testing out video editing on the build, this allowed me to plug in all the peripherals I needed. It has 4 USB-A ports with a USB-C pass-through. One of the products that's been in the setup the longest is my speakers, the Audio Engine A2 Pluses. They do lack in bass, but still have a pretty decent sound, which I love for listening to music or watching videos. Though, to be completely honest, the main reason I bought them was for aesthetics. They're just super clean. I have them connected to the Mac with a 3.5mm aux cable, as switching between devices over Bluetooth was always real finicky. I also just recently picked up a new pair of headphones, the Audio-Technica M50Xs. These are my first pair of nice headphones, and while they're mainly meant for monitoring audio, I've still found them to be great for video editing, listening to music, and gaming. They have a super sleek design, and build quality is pretty good. Comfort-wise, they're okay. I can usually wear them for a couple of hours uninterrupted, but any longer than that, I typically have to take them off for a bit. Whenever I'm not using them, I throw them underneath the desk onto this glorious Trident hanger. The adhesive is super strong, so I'm never worried these will be falling off. I use a Shure SM7B to record the audio for all my videos, and I love it. It was a really expensive purchase, but I care a lot about the quality of my audio, and this isn't something I'll have to change anytime soon, so I think it was worth it. To use the SM7B, you do need an audio interface, so I went with the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. There's 2 XLR inputs if you want to be able to record multiple tracks at once, but I only use the one right now. With the M50X plugged into the audio port, it not only lets me listen to the microphone audio, but also as an output for my MacBook that is plugged into. I also have a cloud lifter since the SM7B is pretty quiet, so this just boosts the gain by 20 decibels without sacrificing any audio quality. This is attached underneath the desk with a command strip, which I found super convenient to help keep the desk tidy. I have a power strip attached to some, and even my cable management tray because I've been too lazy to drill into the desk. The microphone is mounted to the desk with the Rode PSA-1, which is a super popular and well-built boom arm. However, mine has gotten very squeaky over the years. That just about wraps up the video, so there's going to be links to every one of the products I mentioned today in the description, so you guys can go check those out. If there's anything else you want to know about the space, feel free to drop a comment, but that said, I hope I provided some inspiration to any of you wanting to build or upgrade your home office. I've been Cole, and I appreciate you all for watching. Hope to see you next time, but until then, take care.